Yo! Welcome back to another video on the channel. As you could probably tell from the title of the video, today we're going to be looking at creating a Stickman figure in Blender and how we can use Mixamo to apply some animations to it. Whilst some might argue that the end product, which we shall henceforth refer to as Stickalungu, is a work of art worth at least 1 Bitcoin, I made numerous attempts at creating a basic model that I could rig using Mixamo. Granted, some were less pretty than others, but the overall intention is to bring this guy into Unity and give me an easy to use platform with some pre-created animations and the foundation which will allow me to create any custom animations without too much of a headache. This time I jotted the steps down so you can follow along if you'd like. Let's add a UV sphere and we'll scale it down with S and then 0.2. We'll move it up with GZ 1.2. Let's tab into edit mode and switch to wireframe view. Next, duplicate the sphere and scale it down by 0.2. Then GZ negative 0.22 to move it down on the Z axis. Duplicate the sphere again and then scale it up 1.5 but not on the Z axis, so hold Shift Z to prevent the Z axis scaling. And then GZ negative 0.05 to move it down on the Z axis. Switch into face mode with the number 3 and then select the bottom half of the sphere. With that selected, GZ negative 0.3 to move the bottom half down. Select one of the faces on the neck joint and then Ctrl L to select linked and then duplicate it and move it down negative 0.4 with GZ negative 0.4. Select one of the faces on the upper body, Ctrl L to select the linked faces, Shift D to duplicate and then GZ negative 0.4 to move it down. Select the bottom faces on the lower body and then GZ 0.25 to move them up. Select one of the faces on the body joint and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces. You can then duplicate it with Shift D and then GZ negative 0.15 to move it down on the Z axis and then GX 0.05 to move it on the X axis. Next, select one of the faces on the upper body and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces. Shift D to duplicate, press S to scale by 0.6 and then rotate negative 15 degrees on the Y axis. That is R negative 15 Y. Then move it negative 0.48 on the Z axis and 0.09 on the X axis. Select a face on the upper leg joint and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces. Shift D to duplicate and then GZ negative 0.27 and GX 0.077. Select a face on the upper leg and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces. Shift D to duplicate, GZ negative 0.27 and GX 0.06 and then R 6 degrees. Moving back up, select a face on the neck joint and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces and Shift D to duplicate. GZ negative 0.05 to move it down and GX 0.07 to move it across. Head back down to the upper leg joint, select a face, Ctrl L to select the linked faces, Shift D and rotate negative 75 degrees, then GZ 0.64 and GX 0.12. Select a face on the arm joint and then Ctrl L to select the linked faces and Shift D to duplicate. GX 0.27 to move it across on the X axis. Select a face on the upper arm, Ctrl L to select the linked faces, Shift D to duplicate and GX 0.27 to move it across on the X axis. Tab out of edit mode and then we're going to add 2 modifiers, a subdivision surface modifier and then we'll add a mirror modifier. And with that, the modeling of Stickalungu is complete. Time for animation. Before we export our model, let's right click it and say Shade Smooth. We can then go to File, Export as FBX and save it to somewhere useful. Next, we can head over to Mixamo.com. And once you've signed in, you'll have the option to upload a character. So drag in the FBX that we just exported, and once it's done thinking, you'll have the option to rotate the character or move it around. But we don't need to do that, so just hit next, and then we'll just need to place some key points on our model. We'll align the chin, wrists, elbows, knees, and groin with our model. We can also just change the skeleton level of detail to no fingers. then hit next, and Mixamo will do a bit more thinking. And once it's done thinking, Stickalungu has come to life. The really cool thing about this is that once you've rigged your character through Mixamo, you can browse almost 2,500 animations and apply them to your character. Now, what's less cool is the fact that you can't download multiple animations with one character. You can download packs, which will include multiple animations in separate FBX files. But I think for the purposes of a game with a third-person character controller, we'll just download a few key animations. We'll start by searching for a simple idle animation. We want to include the skin for this download, and then you can hit the download button. Next, we'll look for a walk animation. Remember to select in place so that the character doesn't actually move. And this time we just need the animation, so we'll download it without the skin. Finally, we'll search for run animation, set it to in place, and download it without the skin. So with all our animations downloaded, we can head back into Blender and we can import the idle version as it contains the skin. For this next part, we're going to need the Mixamo add-on. So if you don't have it installed, you can find the download link in the description below, and then head to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and Install. With the add-on installed, make sure you have the armature selected, and then hit the Create Control Rig button. Once the add-on's done thinking, you'll have this control rig, and with it, you can do some interesting things like move the armature around easily in case you want to create some custom animations. Well, enough of that. Seeing as though we have some animations pre-made for us, let's head down to the dope sheet and then the action editor, and we'll just rename this action to idle. This is really a preparation step so that when we want to import our model into Unity, all our animations will be neatly packaged within our FBX. Next, we can go ahead and import our run and walk animations, and then we'll just move them along the x-axis individually so that we can see what we're doing. With the control rig selected, we can click the source skeleton button and then click on the running animation. When we click the apply animation to control rig button, it will create a new action for us, which we can then rename to run. We'll repeat the same process for the walk animation, but we'll rename it to walk. I'm in the process of neatening up this character controller, and I'll be making a tutorial for it in the coming weeks. So keep an eye on the channel. I release a video every week. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.